All right, so while I was doing a live stream today, this came out, so I'm just going to go ahead and read from it. It's posted on Sportsnet. I'll include the link in the description below this video. Okay. So, John Horgan, Premier of BC, who has had fluctuating popularity levels in British Columbia, said Wednesday he wrote to Prime Minister Trudeau in order to advance the initiative put together based on modification of quarantine measures that would allow a team to remain together as a family or a bubble. So this is about making Vancouver a hub city, and I'm guessing that the exact same kind of proposal is coming in from Edmonton. If negotiations are as transparent as it looks like they are, Vancouver and Edmonton are probably making pretty close to the exact same pitch. So a team would stay in one hotel, travel together to Rogers Arena for games using private transportation, be responsible for any testing, and agree not to interact with the public during a 14-day isolation period. So they go basically to the rink, from the rink to the hotel, nowhere in between, and not interact with the public in between either. Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry and the Canucks have come up with an agreement that protects players and the public. I think Vancouver is a compelling case to make, and I support it wholly, Horgan said. Edmonton, Toronto are the other Canadian hub cities in running, anyways, in the running to be hub cities. Now they talk about how this would definitely fill up some hotels that otherwise are sitting empty. It could help the economy a little bit, and it would be a boost locally. I've mentioned before with the Canadian dollar being as it's come up a bit over the last couple of weeks, but it's still pretty low. Vancouver looks good. So does Edmonton. So before Edmonton fans say, "Oh, hey, don't give you're not giving Edmonton credit." No. Edmonton's numbers are excellent. Vancouver's numbers are pretty excellent as well. So when you look at the overall curve in BC, it's not great here in Abbotsford, but it's pretty darn good in Vancouver. And in Abbotsford, what's going on? They've tracked it down. One thing that's been important, and this is something that they're working on south of the border as well, as the whole idea of tracing. So if I were to come down ill, they can trace who I've been in contact with and make sure that there's that tracing going on. We're able to do that here in BC, and it's going on at a relatively well as it can be under the circumstances. There are places that are being looked at where I think contact tracing is darn near impossible just because of caseload and all of that. I know the NHL doesn't like the 14-day quarantine. I know they don't. And I know the players wouldn't enjoy the 14-day quarantine. But if they do this, and this is something I've talked about on this channel before, where it's a quarantine, but they're still able to be at their hotel, they're still able to go to the ice, they're still able to do all of this, just isolated from the rest of the public, I don't see any reason why they can't do it. Now, the border closure in between Canada and the U.S. is apparently, it hasn't been announced yet, but it's going to be extended to July 21st. Honestly, from what border guards have said, I've heard through, this is secondary information, they're expecting it to be closed until the fall. And then, of course, who knows where things will be in the fall. The idea being that on the Canadian side of the border, there, like I said, here things are going pretty well, and then you look at the Washington numbers, and they've been going up. So I can understand why the border's remaining closed. It would be great for me to be able to cross the border and get some of the food and drink I've been missing and see people I haven't seen in a while, and be able to do that. But I understand why I can't. And there's all kinds of stuff that I've had sent to that post office box in the States that I haven't been able to get anywhere near since March. But again, it's understandable, and we'll see whether or not the federal government comes back agreeing to this proposal or not. The NHL is going to make its decision, I'm going to say, at the end of next week. And I think there's going to be a lot of factors that go into this. The 14-day quarantine is one thing, but the overall numbers and the way the charts and graphs look with this is another, because we've talked about player safety. That's the utmost, right? We want the players to be in a safe atmosphere. If you want them in a safe atmosphere, there are certain places you can play, and there are certain places that probably get ruled out. And hopefully when we get word of where they're going to play this, we don't just hear, oh, it's going to be here and just end that, but we'll hear why. I would be very interested to hear the whys about which cities they pick, and not just, because we like that. So we'll see what happens. And again, there are 50 million different hurdles that the NHL and the NHLPA are going to go through between now and then. But at least There's those who are trying to get this done. The encouraging thing with the BC and Alberta bids towards the government and towards the NHL is that it isn't just a team coming out and saying we want to host it. It's the team, the government, and health officials working together and saying what's the safest way to make this work. So there you go. We'll see. And Bonnie Henry is a very calming voice in BC. She is pretty enjoyable to listen to because she's a very calming voice, and she's been, for those of us here in BC, she's been good, and I think, I know there may be those who aren't a huge fan of Bonnie Henry's, but I know I appreciate her press conferences. They're no nonsense. They're quiet. There's not a bunch of hand waving like I do in my videos, and she's done a good job. So, and there was even an article in, I think it was in the New York Times, that was talking about how BC's done and with Bonnie Henry. I think it's all weird to her because to her she's just doing her job. She's just this is her task and she's doing it. She hasn't had a day off in a long time. I can understand that. I can sympathize, but the work she's doing obviously has a much greater import than anything I've done here, and I think she's done pretty well. So we'll see what the NHL decides. We know what I would love to see, which is the safest playoffs possible. And I don't care which of the two locations they pick. I just hope that safety is the number one concern and not well, we'd have to look at a quarantine if we go there, so that doesn't work. When the NHL says that, I'm thinking, but that's a safety thing. Come on, isn't the safety the most important part of this? Isn't this why we shut down in March? If safety's not going to be the paramount thing, why didn't we just play in empty arenas then? So that's my thing, and we'll see how things work out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. Yeah, I probably could have saved this for a news of the day video tomorrow, but why do that when I can talk about it right now and get feedback from all you wonderful fine people? Thank you so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.